All right, I'm going to call the North Huron Police Services Board meeting to order at 7 p.m. I'm here on behalf of the clerk who has delegated authority to me to conduct this meeting. On tonight's agenda, we will start by having the board members declare the oath of office for the 2019 term. If I could call forward Trevor to approach the podium and recite his oath.
I, Trevor Sight, solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen and to Canada, and I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the North Huron Police Services Board faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act and any other act and any regulation, rule by or bylaw.
If I could call forward Rick to approach the podium and recite the oath.
I, Rick McBurney, solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen and to Canada, and that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the North Huron Police Services Board faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act and any other act and any regulation, rule, or bylaw.
Thank you. If I could call forward Kathy to approach the podium and recite the oath.
I, Kathy Adams, solemnly swear that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen and to Canada, and that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the North Huron Police Services Board faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act, any other act, and any regulation, rule, or bylaw.
If I could call forward James to approach the podium and recite the oath.
I, James Rutta, solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen and to Canada, and I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the North Huron Police Services Board faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act and any other act, any other regulation, rule, or bylaw.
Could I have a mover to accept the North Huron Police Services Board agenda for this meeting? Rick and Kathy. All in favor? Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None noted. The next item on the agenda is to select a chairperson for the 2019 term. I open the floor to any nominations for a chairperson for the members of the board.
I would like to nominate Trevor Sight for the office of chairperson.
Do I have a seconder? Rick? May I call for a second time for nominations? May I call for a third and final time for nominations for the position of chairperson? Hearing none, I call for the nominations closed. Member Sype, do you accept the nomination for chair?
I do.
I would like to invite Member Sype to add any comments if you wish.
No, I think we're going to be going into an interesting period of time here over the next month or so, and look forward to getting through that month and see where the North Huron Police Services Board goes from there. So I thank for the nomination.
I would like to call for a motion from the board to appoint Trevor Sype to the North Huron Police Services Board as chairperson for the 2019 term. Can I have a mover? Great. Seconder? All in favor? Carried. The next item on the agenda is to select a vice chairperson for the 2019 term. I now open the floor for any nominations for vice chair from the members of the board.
I would like to nominate Rick McBurney to the position of vice chairperson.
Do I have a seconder? May I call for a second time for nominations? May I call? Yes.
I nominate Kathy Adams.
Do I have a seconder for that one?
Second.
Seeing how there's two individuals nominated, may I ask for a motion from the board to appoint either Kathy or Rick as chairperson, vice chairperson?
I would like to respectfully decline my nomination, please. I just feel with the year ahead and us not knowing the composition of the board and not knowing what the future is of our provincial appointments at the present time, I think it's important that we have council representation on that board. So I would like to respectfully decline my nomination. Thank you.
May I call for a second time for any other?
So I'll just move that Rick McBurney become the
Sure.
vice chair.
Do I have a seconder? Yes. All in favor? Carried.
Welcome aboard there, Rick.
I guess I will call forward now Trevor Sype to take over as chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mandy. Okay, so we have in front of you, there was some minutes of December the 20th. They have been provided to you because there was some adjustments made after the some clerical adjustments, basically was what I understand. So is there anybody, is there a motion to approve those minutes as they've been amended? Kathy moves those minutes and Rick seconds. Is there any questions with regards to the minutes? Do you have any questions, Jim, knowing that you're obviously a new participant on the board? Is there any questions or comments that you have that you would like to ask?
No, I think I'm okay right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So seeing we have a mover and a seconder, is all those in favor of that motion? Carried. Delegations, petitions, invited guests. We have none here tonight. Any business arising from the minutes? So there is the 2019 budget that was presented to you by Chief Poole. It has been provided to us. I will turn it over to the floor to the chief to provide any more information as that he was the one who presented it at the last meeting.
Just kind of a larger overview, like as per our discussions on the budget and working together on putting it together. I think I was a little bit under on the salary portion. I think we have to raise that up some, and the benefits, because of recent events with the transition, the benefits will be less. I don't know if that's going to be proportionate or not, but hopefully I'll have to talk to Donna, the Treasury Department here, and see how that works out.
So just for some clarity from the budget board members, I had, based on the agreement, so we have an agreement, we had a 2-year agreement with the Police Service, the association. So we have this is really an update for Jim's perspective more than anybody, but we have an adjustment, an agreement with the Wayne Police Services Association for the services of offering, they are an employee of the Police Services Board. So what's happened is that over 2018, they are still under contract till disbandment, which the date of disbandment is February the 21st. So we have scheduled them their 2018 salary, and then it has in the agreement there was a 4% increase plus COLA, which COLA in 2019 was scheduled to be 2.2%. So those salaries have been adjusted, and then on top of those salaries, so they get a normal salary, but then they get obviously vacation pay. They also get time for being one of the officers gets on call time, and then they have what they would consider to be a service pay. So for the number of years of service they have on the force, they get a certain pay of that. And there's the opportunity for them, if they qualify, if they wish to voluntarily go to get their fitness pin, they can get some dollars that the board has allocated towards them in order to do that. That's voluntary. That's not something we mandatory make them do. If they qualify for that, then they can go and get that. So, based on some information that I was going through with the chief, I was trying to understand the budget, knowing that we are in the last year of this budget, and I want to make sure that we have kind of wrapped this up, and the board is recommending a budget to council, because this budget completely impacts the tax base in Wingham and Wingham only. So I want to make sure that we're not undercutting ourselves, but respectfully making sure that we're covered with regards to these payouts, because it's after February 21st, it's over. What you won't see in this budget is anything with regards to severance or termination pay with regards to the disbandment, because that's in the budget of the actual. There is a line item that is given in the North Huron police budget, but it's determined by the agreement, and the staff at the council level is the municipality level is determining what that number is and providing that information. So what I'm basically, my suggestion, and I'm leaving this up for the board to decide, is based on the information that I've just given you and the chief's proposal, that we need to reconsider and look at these full-time salaries and get a handle on, are we budgeting the right now salaries from a dollars perspective, but also from a benefits perspective, knowing we've just taken a percentage in the past and not really truly understand what that percentage relates to. I think we would, at least I think we can selfly say the budget is, we can leave it as when the chief prepares a second round, when it's ready, I suspect we can have another meeting. Like, council has not finished round one yet. Like, we're going to finish round one tomorrow. So round two is going to happen in February. So I respectfully think that, if we have, when I talk to that North Huron Police Services budget tomorrow, my argument will be that the board has requested the chief to review the salaries again to ensure that we're on target for where we're going to be. But again, that's me as the chair. You as the board can decide on the budget, but obviously it's what the chief has presented and what we've talked about. Me and the chief is, I think it's light at this point. Is there any other questions? Is there any other questions for regards to the budget that was presented? Jim, do you have any questions about the budget? I know that's a kind of a high level.
So basically, in a nutshell, this represents to the 21st of February this year, and we think that's light. You think that's light? That makes all the sense in the world to look at it again, right? Then.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
The number were like my thinking, and that's why I've asked the chief to review. Like I quickly did this over the last week, but obviously, I looked at this spreadsheet based on the agreement is today. The chief lives this agreement every time. He knows what's being questioned by officers, what's not being questioned by the association. Those are some conversations that we're going to have with regards to the budget and the discussion about the association. So, I think if we provide that information back and if I give the board and let the council know and the treasurer that, we probably are looking at this budget in the neighborhoods is $20,000 light. Just because I think what's going to happen is that you're looking at the salaries line to be about 45,000 light, but the benefits could be down 20,000. I don't know that, but I'm guessing these are high level guesses based on what actual has been.
Just so you're aware, the treasurer did question the level of the benefits. But I was basing that on, we didn't know if everyone had a job with the OPP, and if there was a different term, if they didn't get hired by the OPP, we would have to cover benefits for them for a term of time. So I just budgeted for all 6 of them not getting hired, just to have it there just in case. So now we know different. So
based on information that we know now, we can make a relatively better assessment of what the budget's going to be. So I think from that perspective, I will at least advise. We're going through the budget now, and senior staff are already telling us there's changes to the budget that they would like to make for round 2. So me mentioning that part of it as the chair of the board, I don't think would be any different than a senior staff member mentioning that in the board. So. Okay, is there any questions with regards to that? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So basically, what I would do is I'd like to get a motion to direct the chief to review the salaries and benefits lines within the 2019 proposed budget and come back to us on the February meeting, which will be probably early, and then we'll basically be able to approve. Hopefully, at that point, we can approve the budget at that point. So, Rick, are you moving? Is there a seconder for that motion? Kathy? Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to the police chief's report. Chief, go ahead.
Okay, I did prepare a written report. However, it's kind of gone out the door in a couple of things that I commented on. But calls for service, there's no change in that. We did respond to 126 calls in the month of December. 6 of those were assisting the OPP, one being the fire north of town, a couple of car deer collisions where they weren't available or would have caused the animal undue stress, waiting for them to arrive so we went out and put the deer down in a couple of instances. So nothing really serious other than the fire north of town. The disbandment process is moving along very well, and it's actually picked up pace in the past couple of weeks. I did prepare a list of items that we could sell. Township asked that I hold off on sending that out because I wanted to offer it to the OPP initially. The OPP were taking time to get back, so I did send Dwayne an email and said, listen, we got to get things settled one way or the other. So the OPP said, go ahead and offer everything to the other services. So I've done that, and I have some prices. I've gotten some feedback from the services, and I was going to look towards the board tonight to get authority to go back and say, yes, they are going to purchase it, or no, they're not. Do you want to go through that now, or do you want to do that as new business?
No, we can do that now.
Okay. The Glock pistols that we have 12 of them that are for sale. We've only received one offer on that from Brockville, and they're offering $7,200 for all 12, which is pretty good. They were $650 a piece, brand new. He's getting his calculator out.
Yep. They're offering how much?
And they're offering
$7,200.
And they're
Oh.
they're in 6 of them are being
Six
six
of
of them are being
yeah.
used.
Yeah, they're being used now.
Okay.
They're also offering $1,500 for all 4 of our ceramic breastplates, which is part of the body armor. So a total of it's $8,800 from Brockville for the equipment that they're offering to purchase. Shelburne did offer 2. They want to buy 2 of our vests for $500. But again, Brockville's a better offer.
Mhm.
Port Hope is looking at the card scan that we have. And the card scan, for those that don't know, is a fingerprint card. It scans the fingerprints, the ink fingerprints, and sends them to the RCMP. There's only 2 municipal services in Ontario that purchase them. There's us in Dryden, and we do fingerprints for most of the province. We do the southern half of the province. Dryden does the northern half of the province. So Port Hope wants to take that on. So, and they're willing to pay us $9,000 for that computer, which is pretty good. The approved screening device, they are offering up $500, which is a roadside screening device for alcohol. And they are offering $700 for the radar, which is in pretty rough shape. I wouldn't pay $700 for it.
They haven't looked at
They haven't
these?
looked at it, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Elmer, everyone talks, right? So they knew that Port Hope had offered $500 for the improved screening device. They offered $501. This is not, let's make a deal or the price is right. I think Port Hope was the ones that gave an offer in earnest, along with their $9,000 for the computer card scanner. I would suggest that they would be the ones to get the improved screening device as well. Those are the only offers I have so far.
So what assets do we have? What assets do we have that we have not received any offers?
Oh, all kinds. The 6 hours, they'll have to be destroyed. The rifles, they'll have to be destroyed or given away to another police service. Same as the SIGs, they can be given away. We have 1 Remington 870 shotgun that's not been offered. I've had Hanover say they would take our tasers, but they didn't want to pay for them. And again, they're obsolete, so they'd only be used for training, so they're not worth anything anymore. And that's it. The Intoxilizer 5000, sorry. And that Intoxilizer is obsolete. No one wants it. and that's gonna have to be destroyed.
There's no other, so any firearm, again, like you said, needs to be given or sold to an actual police service.
That's correct, yeah,
So, okay,
or destroyed.
or destroyed. Hate to see them be, I'd hate to see them be destroyed.
I would rather give them away,
Yeah.
personally, for two reasons. One is it gives a service that may not have the budget to offer for those rifles or the shotgun. Gives them the opportunity, like there are small services around that are like we are, going from paycheck to paycheck, basically, from budget to budget. And if they can get something at a reduced or free rate, then I did that for years with this police service. I would rather see these things given away. The rifles and the Remington 870, I would like to see them given to police services that assisted us over the years, namely West Gray, Hanover, Saugeen Shores. Saugeen Shores has done all of our firearms training, or the majority of it. Hanover has done our taser training over the years. And West Gray as well for the rifle training, the initial rifle training. They did all that with our guys. So those would be the three services that if we have to give it away, I would suggest I go to one of them. The SIGs need to be cut up.
Those are the old firearms.
They're over 30 years old, they're brittle, they're breaking. You can't even test fire them in the barrel. They're gone.
And there's probably some cost to, the other items, would there be cost to destroying them?
Yes,
Yeah, so it's better.
Yeah.
to-
I believe it's $20 per firearm that they destroy. I have arranged for the contract people that do the destruction of firearms to come up here on the 20th, because we have seized firearms that have to be destroyed anyway, firearms and knives. So they destroy them and it's certified, we get a certificate of destruction from them for that, and they also destroy any excess ammunition. And it's a company that we've used in the past, and every police service in the area uses them.
So if we were to give the guns to another service, would we also give them the ammunition that goes with those?
Oh, yeah. And for example, Saugeen Shores has given us thousands and thousands of rounds for the pistols and have never charged us for training. So I would think that any excess rounds, we should give back to them.
So the only other asset that the police service has that currently is being reviewed by senior management at the township is the Explorer.
Yeah, well, the Explorer, it was recommended to go to the fire department. The fire department asked if they could receive it. The township has asked that we put a value on it. I did that yesterday.
Okay.
And sent that to Murray Bedard, and did I copy you or just Dwayne?
I think you might just copy Dwayne.
Okay. So that's been sent along with the value for the radios.
Yeah.
The radios that we currently have are the exact same as the fire department uses. They just have to be reprogrammed. And they are approximately $198 each on eBay right now. When we bought them, they were over $1,200. If you were to buy a new radio right now, a new programmable radio, you're looking at $1,500 to $1,800. So to give that to the fire department, even if they use them as spares, I personally think it's the way to go. But they wanted a value on it so they could do budget transfers.
Yeah, what they have to do is they have to, the fire department needs to provide in their budget that they're buying it from the police service at fair value. So therefore, then the police services budget gets ownership or gets.
So that would be income on our budget line.
Correct. It would be somehow budget income on our line that basically saying that we're selling that asset to them at fair value.
The other two assets that we do have is the two cruisers, but that'll be going to the township for them to dispose of through Gov Sales or whatever it is.
Yeah. Gov Deals.
Gov Deals, that's it.
Okay, so based on the information that we've got from the chief, is there any recommendation from the board
Sounds like it's covered.
It needs
So
approval of someone.
needs, yeah, so we need to give the chief direction though, that is he okay to, based on the information he's got, to give the okay to those services, and then the firearms, give him authority to, distribute those firearms between the three police services that he was talking about, Saugeen Shores, Westbury, and Hanover, and leave it up to the chief's discretion on who he provides those firearms to, and anything else will then be scrapped. Is that what I'm hearing is okay from the board? Okay, do I have a mover for that? Rick will move it. You're a seconder? Jim will second it. Chief, are you clear on the direction?
Extremely clear.
Okay.
Exactly what I asked for.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried.
Okay, in my written report, I said to date, none of our officers have received anything from the OPP regarding transfer to the OPP. That is now incorrect. All of the officers have been offered employment with the OPP. And I know 5 of them have sent off their acceptance. They have to have their acceptance in by tomorrow. So I'm not sure on 1, just because I haven't spoken to him since I gave him the letter. So that's a really good thing. I'm happy to hear that. That was one of my biggest concerns as the chief, and looking out for the welfare of your officers. You want to make sure that they're done by correctly. So that's good to see. And I am working on the files. The OPP had sent an email asking that files be done a specific way to transfer over to them in the township. They're coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to meet with Staff Sergeant Nesbitt, and he's going to take a look at the volume. Do they need the pickup truck, or do they need the backseat of the cruiser to move those records over to Godrich? And we have to have a CPIC audit, the Canadian Police Information Center. They have to do an audit before we disband, and I have to make those arrangements, which I didn't know about till yesterday. Criminal records check, I had said in there, in my report that we're going to process them until the 15th of February. Again, yesterday I was contacted by the OPP, and they said 2 weeks prior now. So the William Police will be ceasing record checks 2 weeks prior to our disbandment, so that'll be the 7th of February. Anyone after that will be referred to the OPP. The cell phones that our officers have, which is part of our dispatch billing, they're a backup to the radios if the radios ever go down, so we had to have cell phones. They were offered to the township, however, the township didn't want to take them over, and they did not want to take the contract over. Bill has been notified, and it will be canceled on the 21st of February, so there'll be a bill coming in after that. And I've provided Dwayne with the amount of that, what that bill is going to be, plus usage, not just for the cancellation. We did have a meeting between yourself and Mr. Evans, both the phones, and I was under the impression that they were leased. But once you pay out that contract, they belong to the township. So whatever the board wants to do with those phones, whether give them to the township or dispose of them another way, that's going to be up to the board. And that is all I had.
Okay. Is there any other questions with regards to the chief, in regards to his report? Are there any comments from board members about what to do with the cell phones?
Obviously, the town has no use for them.
Sounds of it.
They don't have any, they were offered to senior management and offered to the staff, and they're offered to senior management if there was anybody in their department that needed them. And the answer was no. So the argument is, obviously we could provide them as there's nothing saying we couldn't provide them to the officers as they would have to then go and connect them to
Their own plan.
their own plan or whatever the case may be. Provide them that with a cost of $100 or whatever the case may be. I don't know what the board's thoughts are, or just leave them here and let the fact that actually technically then the municipality has phones if they ever needed a phone or damaged a phone, they have the phones here already. I don't know what the board's thoughts are.
They're actually BlackBerry, aren't they?
There's 3 Blackberries, the rest are LGs, I think, or Sony's one. Yeah.
But they're a few years old.
Oh, these were, when we were told that we were staying and increasing our size and officers, contract was renewed and they gave out new phones with the new contract. So they're not quite a year old.
Well, if there's no direction with the board, to do anything with them, the assumption will be is that they're left to the township, and the township can deal with what they want with them. So think about it. We'll think about it between now and the next meeting, and if you do have any suggestions or thoughts on that, feel free to let myself or the chief know. We can we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting just to confirm it, what we plan on doing with those, and then we'll go from there. Okay. I need a motion to approve the police chief's written and verbal report as presented. Kathy moves that. Seconder, Rick seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the bills and accounts. Is there any questions with regards to the bills and accounts from December the 14th to January the 18th? So the first one, just for Jim's perspective, the first one is the building costs. And the second spreadsheet is the actual service costs. As I'm reviewing this chief, I should maybe get from also. I'll have it from Donna tomorrow as to the number that's still in reserves with regards to that, and we'll maybe have to make an assessment of whether how much we want to continue to remain in reserves under the contract proposal, because I don't know if there's extras or whatever that might come up that we need to maybe associate to reserves.
Especially there's a vehicle reserve that we've been setting aside money per year.
Correct.
Like that'll be sitting there
And there's also the legal and accounting reserve. As I was thinking that in bills and accounts, I'm thinking that I'll still got budget in my head, so. Yeah, like obviously the vehicle reserve, we can tell her to bring that in because we're not buying vehicles for the OPP. at least that I'm not aware of. So if there's no question, I would ask that the Police Services Board hereby authorize and approve the payments of the bills and accounts in the total of $18,787.62 for the period of December the 14th, 2018 to January 18th, 2019, as supported by the Secretary Treasurer's list of vouchers. The mover, Kathy moves it. I have a seconder. Rick seconds. Not seeing any questions. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the correspondence, we've got, there was 3 correspondence that were sent in, all from the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards. One was on January the 1st with some education and training. On the 8th was the 2019 membership renewal, which I will talk to you, and on January 8th as well, the OAPSB also announced that they have a new chair. So I did want to mention, comment to the board. We did get the invoice for the 2019 membership. It's $250. The staff have asked whether the board wants to continue with that membership. My assumption is we are still a police services board. It does give us opportunity to go to the Zone 5 meetings to talk about with other police services boards. There are other boards there that are just OPP boards, so you have the same opportunity to go to those meetings. And it might not hurt. Is my thinking is that when we get to those, if we can get somebody to go to those meetings, it's very difficult for me as the chair because I have a full-time job. But if we can get some more go there, especially after disbandment, and maybe ask, get some feedback from these other boards that have, OPP representation, that, what does your board look like? What is this? What is that? How do you work this through? How do you do that? I know we are thinking, especially for all of the police services board, but also of council, is going to get some training from our ministry rep that was hoped to get that training underway, so that every police service board member should know exactly what their role is under the Police Services Act, but also understand that the board that we have today is going to be completely different than the board we have in February 22nd. There'll be no discussion about budgets or anything like that. It'll be, instead of the chief, it'll be an OPP representation from Huron County OPP, and there'll be discussion about just the overall service and what we see and what we don't see, and how does that change and how is it implemented. I think for the first little bit, it'll be about the transition. How do we see the transition? How we don't see the transition, and that such. But I think from my opinion is the membership is valuable for $250. You get to at least get some networking with other police services boards, and you go there and you hear that you're not in the same, you're in the same vocation when it comes to provincial appointees and everything else that has to go on with the police services boards. So if the board's okay to renew that membership, I would take a motion to that effect. Kathy moves that. Rick seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. So I will advise the council, or I will advise municipal staff to process that payment for the next payments. Okay. So we need a motion to direct that the correspondence be ordered, read, and filed. Rick moves. Jim seconds. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, under new business, I did want to, it has been, I've been thinking about this for a few months now that the transition is within about a 4-week time frame. We are the association on itself on February the 21st is having a dinner and a wing night kind of celebration for the 140 years of service that they've provided this municipality. They went ahead and done this on their own behalf. They're going to have people from here, other services around the area come and I'm not suggesting that we disrupt that recognition. That's something that they want to do, but I do think the municipality and the Police Services Board should consider something with regards to the service, something to the association. They've put their life on the line for the last, since I've been in this town, which is 12 years, give or take 2 or 3. I think not that we owe it to them. I think it's a recognition of service. It's a recognition of a thank you. But the fact that we're happy that everybody is accepted of this transition, and I think that would be best served as members of the Police Services Board, but also the municipality to come arm in arm and say to thank you to these officers and thank you to the chief for the years of dedication and service that have been provided. So I don't know whether the board thinks of inviting the association to the next Police Services Board meeting, whether the board goes to the next council meeting. I don't know what the board's thoughts are. I'm just thinking that we should do something, but I've not thought through what that something is. There was some thought about presenting, plaques to the officers and stuff like that for thank you for dedication. But I'm leaving it kind of. I can do some stuff with the municipality to coordinate that, but I thought it would be best that the board had some thought and discussion about what they think is in the best interest of the service. Any thoughts?
Well, recognition is important.
I would think so. I mean, obviously being new, I don't know how many years service everybody has or anything like that, but I mean, I think people should definitely be recognized for what they've done, and the fact that it's basically coming to an end, that I think everybody needs to be recognized for sure. How we do it is something in the air for discussion.
Yeah, I think that one of the some of the concern is that if we invite them to the Police Services Board meeting, we may or may not see them. We may or may not. And
one guy's on vacation.
Right. So one guy's on vacation, but the conversation is that, knowing that we have, that we know that they're going to be somewhere on February the 21st, if we don't have the ability to recognize them separate from that event, myself as a Police Services Board chair and the reeve of the municipality would be more than, I have not talked to the reeve, but I suspect that he would be more than happy to, go to that night, and take the 2 minutes to give, a handshake and a thank you to those members of the association and present them with their stuff. All of which are still members of the community. Like they're just working for the OPP. They're still going to be living in the municipality. So it's not a matter of whether we can get it to them. I think we can. It's just a matter of how do we ensure that the recognition is out there publicly to ensure that we thank them for what they've done for the service. So if the board is not against, I will coordinate with. Does the board wish to do it on their own? Does the board wish to have it done at the council meeting with board members in attendance? what does the board think either way? So the next council meeting would be February 7th. And then the problem is the next council meeting after that is the 21st, which is the day of disbandment. So, which that won't work. So it could basically my thought is it's either February the 7th or February the 14th, which I don't think I suspect that.
House has gone to Thursday, or you?
Sorry. No, I'm sure it was the 7th is when their February 4th. And then the third Tuesday is the 19th, but there's a council meeting that day. So it could happen on the February the 4th or February the 19th.
Those are council meetings?
Those are council meetings. Generally, what we do is we usually have our police services boards meetings on the third Tuesday of every month. But if it falls in the same month as a council meeting, we either reschedule it or we move the council meeting to we used to have, because council meetings used to be at 7, we used to have police services board meetings at 6. Problem is now council meetings have been pushed to 6, so that would mean we'd have to have police services board at 5. So it's not ideal. So the only other option is to reschedule it to the week before. So again, the 12th or the 19th, I don't think would be out of the question for us to be able to coordinate something with the municipality to get something. I'm looking kind of at Mandy. I'm thinking that it wouldn't be an issue, but I don't know. So we could do it at the 12th police services board meeting if the board so chooses to reschedule the police services board meeting to the week before. Or we could do it at the 19th, which is the council meeting, and get it on the agenda for the council meeting and have the recognition at a council meeting. With the expectation that the board would be available.
Is that something that the officers would all feel comfortable with? Would they attend that sort of thing? I just wonder how the.
I think the majority will. I know, like I say, I know for a fact that one will not. He's going to be in Florida. But I think the majority will attend something like that. Yeah.
Would even that one be away the 12th?
Yes, he's away right until the Friday.
The 22nd.
Yeah.
So he's away he's away 2 weeks.
Okay. Away until the disbandment.
Pretty good deal. Okay, no, that's good. But I basically would not want to. What I wouldn't want is us to do the work and make sure that it's known that we're going to be having a celebration of the service on that time. And I can make, I can give a call to the president of the association and say, the municipality and the board are doing this. We hope that you could come. We would like to make sure that we can have as most of the members there to thank you publicly. Obviously, it is at a council meeting, so the public's going to be on the line, if not in the audience. But obviously, unless there's a touching issue, there's not a whole lot of people in the gallery. But if we get it out there if we get that out there on social media and get it out there and make sure it's well known that we're having that and having that thank you, then we should seriously see that hopefully that people would come just for that purpose and only that. I would hope I hope it's not just them. My hope is that their families come.
My suggestion would be as close to the date as
Absolutely
possible.
So that would be if that's the closest thing, that would be the 19th would be the closest. So if there's no concern from the board, I will work with the municipality and the REIV to ensure that we get something on the 19th council meeting for recognition, and personally maybe get an invitation sent by hand to give to the chief to provide it to the association members and for their families to come for the years of recognition to ensure that we've got that they're thanked publicly, not only them but their families, because their families are a big part of being a part of the association and being part of the service to the municipality for that many years. Okay, and I'm not going to kind of go with I'm hearing okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go with that. So at this point, there's some board members and inquiries and reports. Is there anything that any board member wants to have any questions about? I know, like I said, I know, Jim, you're new to the board. You're obviously new to the community as well. Is there anything that you did present very well at the at the council for the actual application and the submission? Is there any questions that you have from the board or for as it relates to the service that you would like to kind of? And feel free, if there is anything after tonight, feel free to shoot myself or the chief an email. And we can definitely provide you with any information that you may need.
Well, I appreciate that. I think at this point I'm taking in what I can. And
Yep. No,
I mean, obviously there's some big changes coming here, and the one thing I was a little concerned about was what it's going to look like after, and it sounds like there's something to help us with that.
Yeah,
So,
I think we're going to have something that what it looks like and how that manages. The one thing, again, the one thing that I will say is that you particularly are coming from an area of the OPP. So you're coming from an OPP area. Yeah. So, you have some feedback that, and thoughts about OPP area that, me living in Wingham most of my life, I don't know anything other than what I've had as Wingham Police Service. And I'm sure Kathy's the same way. And, Rick living in Blythe, he's had the OPP as well, but that's the type of stuff that we've had. But what Rick and the constituencies in Listowel or Blythe and East Wawanish have is a completely different level of service than what Wingham's going to have. It's not the same. So, it's going to be a different transition for people. Having 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week coverage that we have today. We still have 24 hours a day, 7-week coverage under OPP, but it's just not the same level as what we would be. The OPP says it should be consistent. There's people out there that don't believe that. They'll believe it when they see it. So I think everybody has to learn the transition and what that looks like. So I hope over the next after disbandment over the first 3 months, we can at least have some vocal conversation with the OPP to understand, and how do we publicly display what that looks like, and hopefully we get some feedback from the public about what that looks like from themselves too. So. Okay, no public gallery, no comments. Oh, sorry, Kathy.
Do we have an update on the status of our provincial appointments at this time?
So the update that I have from the provincial appointees is that I did get recognition that the provincial appointee log is open. You can actually apply to the job to be a provincial appointee now. Whether that anybody has actually applied, I don't know that. I know I had said to the board I was going to try to contact the minister's office to kind of give feedback as to the process and give them some thoughts about the issues that Joan specifically had, our provincial appointee, that her term ended on December the 31st. I have not had time to do that as of yet, just with the budget and the new council and stuff. I just have not had the opportunity to do that. my hope is that I'm going to have that opportunity later this week. I will say that I do have a meeting from a councilman perspective. I do have a meeting with a minister on Saturday. I can't recall. I think it's municipal affairs and housing, so it's not correctional or anything like that. So, if the question is asked, do you have anything else that the government could work on? I may just throw that out there just for the fact that it's a minister. Maybe he'll say something. I don't know. But that's the hope, is that I can get a hold of the assistant to the minister so that I can give them some feedback, because it's not a delightful process. For Jim's perspective, if you apply for a provincial appointee job, you're looking at probably 12 to 18 months in order to, from the time you apply to the time you're sitting in the chair. And then it's a 2-year term. And then if you get an extension, it's for another 2 years, I believe. And if you don't, then you have to reapply. So it is. I've been on the police services board for 4.5 years, and I will tell you, it has been every time we go to a police services board meeting, every association is having the same problem. They have had 4 ministers in that role over the last 4 years. There has been a number of minister changes in that.
They've had 2 since the government changed.
Since the government changed, they've had 2. So, it's one of those things where it's a highly process with regards to references and all that stuff, but they could sit on the minister's desk for months.
Is it so the lapse is okay? Like, is that not a requirement for someone to be here, or from the government itself? We've never had an issue where we've not had one. We've had at least one. Okay.
Where our concern has always been is that if you have a board of 4 people, you need to have a board of 4 people. You need to have them here, because if you don't, we had at one point during the summer, we had a board of 3. So we all had to be here, because you can't, even though they're vacant, you still have to have quorum, which means you have to have 3 of them here. So you can't just say, oh, you have quorum because you have 2 people, and that's the way it works. It's you have to have quorum of the available spots on the board. So, that's the argument we've been trying to express to the ministers, is that you guys want these positions on these boards, but you're not making it very easy for people to actually get on them.
Right.
And I guess I understand they want to vet them. I'm not suggesting they don't vet people, but it shouldn't take 18 months to vet someone.
No.
Like it's a job it's a job interview.
Right.
It doesn't take me 18 months to hire somebody. It takes me 6 to 8 weeks. So, and I don't see, if you were to ask, I don't think there's a laundry list of people applying for these jobs. It's not as if they're lucrative. So, I don't know what that is.
Like I told you earlier, there's 84 vacancies right now.
84 vacancies across the province. And they've been probably, over the past 4 years, it hasn't got any lower than probably 60, I would suggest. So.
And we're not even aware if our new board will have a provincial appointee on it, right?
That will be council's decision.
Okay.
Council can reduce the size of the board.
So council can reduce the size. If the council doesn't reduce the size, your board is the board.
Yeah.
Your board remains at 5 and carries on. It's the council's determination after February 21st. So that's a conversation I have to have with. That's some of the. I'm hoping before. I have to have a conversation with the municipality that says, you need to get. I think we need to get somebody in that the council understands what that is, So they can make it an executive decision on what they do with that change. If they want to just leave it alone, they have that every right and leave it as is.
Quite a few of the OPP areas have 5-member boards, but there are quite a few as well that have 3-member boards.
And under the act, we're only really required to have 3. But we
3 is the
always
smallest.
have 5.
So we've always had 2 council appointees, 2 provincial appointees, and a community rep as yourself. So that's been that has been the actual composition, but council can determine what change that composition, how they see choose. So to answer your question, Kathy, really and clearly, there has no clear guideline from the minister that says that provincial appointee changes are going to be faster or slower or what. They've just implemented this new online hiring or like online application process, which the term has to expire before you can apply. So you're already behind the 8 ball before you even get there. You're gonna have an empty chair for potentially 18 months. Is the way I see it, and that's the question and that's the kind of the comments that I'd like to get from a police chair. I'd like to get to that minister that says, does that make any sense to you? Because it sure doesn't make any sense to me. And that process is all you're doing is making it more frustrating, and you're gonna have more people just say, to hell with it. Why would I even do it? Because you're not making an easy process for me to. And it's not like I'm getting a 6-figure salary for doing it, or a 3-figure. So it's not as if it's a very lucrative job. So. Okay. There's no in-camera session. So the next meeting we need to decide, again, as we talked about before, usually we would have that meeting on February the 19th. That is a council meeting night. Council's been moved to 6 o'clock, so I don't think we can do it earlier than that. My question would be, and in all honesty, we can't do it February the 21st either, because the chief is no longer the chief after the 21st.
Oh, you can do it all you want.
Yeah, you're just not available. So, we can do it if people so choose. We could do it the week before or whatever. I know we pushed, this one was pushed a week because of what's the committee's thoughts? Is everybody available on the 12th? Or we could do it the Wednesday, the 20th.
Either or.
Chief, do you have a preference?
My preference would be the Tuesday, because Eric Betts is Wednesday, and I have been committed to that for 20 years.
Yes. Yep.
That being the 12th.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
February 12th.
12th.
Okay, so we'll get out a notice that the meeting has been changed to the 12th. In the meantime, we'll also work with the municipality to get those notices out as to the public recognition part, and we'll go from there. Okay, if there is no further business, I would take a motion to adjourn at 8:09 p.m. Kathy moves that, and Rick seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. We are adjourned.